Hey, I'm Derek from CFR's Afternoon Connection, and it's true, Chris Sligh's coming to Bowling Green August 21st at Living Hope Church, and if you've been keeping up with the clues, you kind of already know just a little bit about him, but Chris is here today to share more about his heart and about his music. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, man, it's great to be here.
Well, most people know you from the show American Idol, and some people don't really like to hear the name of the show, don't even like to watch it just because it uses the word idol. And I kind of see their point, but, all things aside and all things considered, God's really used that show kind of as a turning point or a transition point in your life and not just to really launch your career.
It's been a great thing. I think that the thing that's hard sometimes as a Christian is to figure out how we're in and not of the world. And American Idol was one of those things, and it was a great experience. And God was really, really good to allow me to make a career or have a chance at a career now. I just think that God uses that thing I think that God can use anything He needs to for His own good.
So were you able to be, transparent about your faith and share your faith with the other contestants on the show?
Oh yeah, we're all so close that it comes up pretty quickly. That whether or not you're a Christian, and some people were very anti-Christian, some people were very, they grew up in the church. It's just not for them, and then there was people like me and Phil Stacy, Melinda Doolittle that were active Christians. And that's just in the top 10. Sabrina Sloan was very involved with her church, and you just go down through the list of the top 24. It's really interesting how many Christians end up on this show, and how many people that grew up in church end up on the show. And I think it's a testament to the church being the one place where music is still done. It's like music is still really important in the church, and whereas schools more and more are dropping music programs and arts programs, and the church is the place where people are learning how to do music.
Well, since you are a married guy, I know that deciding to go on Idol probably wasn't just a decision that you had to make on your own.
Right.
So how did Sarah, your wife of what, about 5 years now?
Yeah, a little over 5 years. At first she just didn't want me to be disappointed, and have my hopes dashed. I've been doing music for 7 years now. Had a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, and had almost been signed a few times, and just had it. We had one deal fall through. We were at the place where we were going to sign, and the deal fell through. And so she was just, at first she was like, "Man, I just don't want to get my hopes up, and I don't want to get excited about this because I'm scared it's going to end badly." But then, once I made it to Randy, Simon, and Paula, I think we both kind of knew that if I can make it to Randy, Simon, and Paula, then I have a chance. The toughest thing to get through was that first round where there's 10,000 people in the stadium, and you've got 12 judges trying to hear 10,000 people in 8 hours. So that's the toughest thing. So once we made it to Randy, Simon, and Paula, she started to get a little bit more excited about it.
How were you able to stay connected and close to your wife during the show and then during the post-Idol tour?
We kind of had safeguards that we said, we don't go more than 2 weeks without seeing each other. And so, there's some financial sacrifices that come along with that. Obviously, you're buying a ticket every 2 weeks for her to come out and see me, or she's driving. She's having to take a day off from work here and there. And so we just made the sacrifices that we needed to. And it's the same way now, we still have that same rule. I'm out on the road, and we just don't go more than 2 weeks without seeing each other.
Well, there's probably not a day that goes by that we get a prayer request or something of that nature where a married couple is just really struggling. They're pretty much on the brink of divorce. What could you share with maybe that couple who is struggling and give them some hope and encouragement?
Ultimately, it comes down to choices that we make. Sarah and I went through struggle. We had times in our marriage where I would just go, "God, are we going to make it? What is going on?" Before American Idol, and I had taken poor-paying jobs for the express purpose that I could travel and do music and everything like that. And Sarah made sacrifices, but it's still, every day we had to make the choice, okay, we are committed to this marriage. Divorce is not an option. We just kind of had to come to a place where we made those kind of decisions. And they're tough decisions to make. It is easier to walk away. I kind of had to trust God that said, when God says that we are made for one man and one woman, and that's His divine plan, do I believe that He was saying that for someone else, or do I believe that scripturally that's what God has for me? And fight for your marriage. And that doesn't mean that people who have gone through divorce in the past, that doesn't mean that oh man, you can't ever be a good Christian or what, quote unquote. It just means that, as we live, we make the right choices now. We can't go back and change the past.
Appreciate you sharing that with us. Transition a little bit, to your current music and what you're doing, and the first single from your new album, Running Back to You. Those first few lines, it's pretty apparent that you wrote that out of the experience from the show. It's called Empty Me, doing pretty well in the top 20, I believe, as of last week in the Christian charts. How did that song come about? I mean, how did you put that together?
I had been trying to write the single for a long time. I was working with Brown Bannister, the producer, and he kept on saying, man, I just don't feel like we have the first single yet. Go back and write some more, And so I'm going back and writing and just trying to figure out. And I sat down with Tony Wood, and I was like, man, I'm so sick and tired. I've tried for 6 weeks to try to write the single, man. Let's just write a song that talks about life. And we ended up writing this song. And, the first verse does talk a little bit about my experience, obviously, with American Idol. But the thing about that song that we're getting comments about all the time is, this is a prayer that I've got to pray all the time. And people are reacting to the song, and it's really touching people's lives. And, that's what it's all about. I mean, American Idol is awesome, but you don't really get to connect when you're coming through a TV screen singing other people's songs. When you're singing your songs and it's coming from your heart, it gives you a chance to connect in a way that you just can't otherwise.
The rest of the album, it's just a lot of variety. I mean, I was quite surprised when I first listened to it, but when I went back and truly listened to all the songs, it really is songs for the church.
I'm trying to do things different. Most people come off of American Idol and they expect to sell records and they expect to be popular just because they were on the biggest TV show, in the history of mankind. And I came at it with a different perspective. I went, American Idol was great, and it's definitely going to give me a name right off the top that, no new artist can buy. You can't buy that. But I said, I really want to make sure that I'm doing things as if American Idol didn't happen. I'm going out and spend time after shows, and part of what I wanted to do different is that I could have made a crossover record, and I feel like my home is with the church, but I could have made a crossover record, but I really felt like I wanted to make a record that was to the church, and we do have crossover songs on the album, but the record itself is not a crossover album by any stretch of the imagination. It is a record for the church, and that's just how I wanted to do it. I feel like that my home is with the church. I've been a worship leader for 7 years. I have been traveling as a Christian musician for years. It's just a natural fit for me to choose to go and make music for the church.
I thought it was quite interesting. I was, trying to find a little, not dirt, but interesting things about you. And I found that you were actually going to pre-law school.
I was a pre-law major, and my freshman year I discovered music, and so my sophomore year I changed over to a music major. Your
dad was quite the musician and involved in that, so was it kind of like a light switch when your freshman year with music?
No, a little bit. I started singing in a group, and I was like, man, I really like this, and I started writing songs, and at that point I was just kind of like, man, I think this is kind of what I want to do with my life.
So some crazy, just kind of off the cuff questions. Which do you enjoy most, a night out on the town or staying at home?
Staying at home.
Favorite pig out food?
Chicken wings.
And if you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
A miniature Dachshund.
Why a miniature Dachshund?
Just because they're the cutest dogs in the world. My wife and I have a miniature Dachshund that we love.
What's his or her name?
It is LG. It's for little guy.
Cool. And I've got to ask this question. Our morning show host, Suze, always loves to ask this of artists. What's in your pocket right now?
Oh, guitar picks.
No doubt.
Yeah, man.
Well, Chris, we're excited about you coming to Bowling Green and just sharing your music and getting connected with the folks in the listening area and sharing more about who you are. And we look forward to seeing you on August 21st, Living Hope Baptist Church in Bowling Green. And where can listeners get more connected to your music and about who you are?
You can check it out at MySpace. It's MySpace.com/Chris Sligh or just ChrisSligh.com.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you in August.
All right, man. Catch you later. Bye-bye.